All right, you're live now. Hey guys, thank you for joining us. This is the second hangout that we're having for the Power Addicts, and it's some new faces with us today. We'll definitely go around and ask everyone to introduce themselves. But yeah, look forward to first of all, Happy New Year to everyone. And there's been a lot of things going around Power Apps and Flow, and we have a lot to talk about. So let's get started and let's get everyone to introduce themselves. So, Abe, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Abraham Saldana. Everybody calls me Abe, and I'm a power addict. And I feel like an A mean, so that's okay. A little bit of my background. I've been a developer, a consultant, pretty much all my career since 95, I think. That when I started after college, and then I started actually, typical developer, .NET, C Sharp, ASP.NET, and everything else. And then I become a Dynamics 365, which was at that time was called Microsoft CRM version 1.2. So I started my career with Dynamics products since version 1.2 until now that it's in cloud. And for the past 2 years, I've been actually working in conjunction with Dynamics 365 CE, CDS, and Power Apps and Flow, working all together, embedding everything. So my core focus most of the time is actually model-driven applications and CDS. So you will see a lot of blogs, posts, and videos that I create that are actually representing a combination of model-driven, Canvas, and Flow, and then how do they play together with Dynamics 365, and then also with CDS. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm really excited and happy to be in this hangout today. Next. Or you want me to continue talking? I can talk for hours. Don't get me started, because if I can start talking, I can talk for hours. So let me know who's next.
All right, I'll go next. My name is Anton Robin. I am a power addict. I think it's been maybe if not 2 minutes since I've touched Power Apps, literally, on my phone. I'm so sorry. So I'm all about Power Apps. Canvas apps. I started using Power Apps just to resolve some of the challenges that I had. So for a while, I'm not a developer, but I do play one in Power Apps. I'm just kind of happy here. So happy to spread the joy and Power Apps and to learn more from everybody else. So welcome to the Power Addicts Hangout.
Perfect. So I'll take over next. My name is William Darrington, and I've got to apologise for the lack of camera. But honestly, it's probably for the best. You don't want to see me in the evening. I'm not feeling the best. It's not the best face I've got on. So a little bit of history about me. I'm a pre-sales solution architect for Dynamics 365, predominantly specialising in finance and operations, customer engagement, talent, and the Power Platform in general. I try to do the whole stack thing and not silo myself, because I'm very hyperactive, as most people who know me will tell you. So I'm a massive fan of the Power Platform, from building games to creating the actual business solutions as well, especially when it comes to plugging gaps within the Dynamics 365 stack and extending its functionality, because it's been a godsend for that. My journey started in regards to the Power Platform just under a year ago, when I gamified Microsoft customer engagement with a little bit of Super Mario. And this was a really good learning mechanism for me. So every time Super Mario jumped up and grabbed a coin, it actually updated one of the accounts and CE's credit limit. What a way to get your credit limit up, eh? Although I don't know many businesses will want to take that on. So really, from then on, I haven't stopped building Power Apps. So from games to actually more useful things, although I argue with my boss all the time that games are useful. So you'll see a lot of vlogs, blogs, and general content from around the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 from me. So that's pretty much it. I'll pass the baton on to whoever wants it next. It's got to be someone.
Go ahead, Daniel.
So my name is Daniel Christian. I've been one of the early adopters of Power Apps, ever since it was still in preview stages. And some of you may know I actually come from a SharePoint background, so my intentions was just to see if Power Apps was going to be a successor of InfoPad Designer. And it is. I'm convinced it is. If any of you doubt, feel free to set up a call with me, and I will guarantee you I'll convince you on that. But it goes so much more in that. It's just not a customized form. It is a full-blown app. And if you guys know me, I do not have a developer background. My first line of business was racking and stacking servers. That's where I come from. If someone like me can do it, then I'm pretty sure you guys can do it as well. Oh,
Thanks,
and
Daniel. And Geeta, you're gonna go ahead.
All right. So I am and I work for Arts Consulting based out of Dallas, and I started out with SharePoint like I moved back in 2007. My first job was with Microsoft for a very short-term project, and that's when I got started on SharePoint. And I think Power Apps is something that I started working late into 2016. And I am a hardcore programmer. That's what I do for my job. But there's something about Power Apps and Flow that actually challenged me and actually made me think out of the box, outside of server-side or client-side coding, which I really enjoy. And I like to switch between Power Apps, Flow, being a citizen developer, or user versus being a hardcore programmer as well. So everybody, welcome to this PowerAddicts show, and I look forward to hearing and learning more from you guys.
Geeta? Samit, do you want to go ahead now?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Samit Saini. I work for London Heathrow Airport. I've been working there for 13 years. This time last year, I was a security officer asking passengers to remove their liquids, laptops, and iPads. And then I went to IT and asked them, look, can we make this language book into an app? They said, no, it costs too much money. It's not feasible. So this is where I came across Power Apps, and I thought, how easy is it to build a book into an app? And it took me within days, and now I'm hooked, and I'm a Power addict now. And it hasn't just changed my career, it changed my life. So, and I'm in a great community. What can I say? So, that's me.
Awesome story.
Thanks, and I think I didn't introduce myself, but I'm Vivek, or that API guy, if you guys have seen my videos or anything. But yeah, again, one of the early adopters. I've been working on Power Apps and Flow for quite some time now. I can't remember how much, but yeah, you guys, and looking forward to collaborating more on more stuff. And so going ahead, we have a demo scheduled with Brian Edwards joining us. So take it off, introduce yourself, and let us know what you have been working on. I see Brian has joined.
Unmute.
Brian's on mute.
he just needs a minute to settle in. Power Apps has an impact on me too. When I start working on Power Apps, I forget about the world. It's just me. And so I get it, man. I get it, Brian. Take your time.
Yes. I forgot today was Thursday, actually, so sorry.
Yeah. How do you think, yesterday's session was awesome, watching Vivek and Keith about the components. Has anyone else played with components yet?
Yeah, I'm still playing around with it. I think there's a lot more to look into it.
Yeah, I started playing with it yesterday and I thought it was awesome. Straight after watching Vivek and Keith, I was like, gotta try this, and I was like hooked. I was like, what else can you do?
I'm very happy that this feature that's, at least it's in preview right now, it's a huge time saver for, if you're building several apps and you want to templatize your controls or maybe components that you want to share with those apps. This is awesome.
I mean, this is why I love the community and I love PowerAddicts. It's just that it's always improving and it's always making apps easier to build and it's like time saving. And if there's things that didn't happen 3 weeks ago, or they said that it's in development, it's going to happen. So I've got full faith in PowerAddicts. So it is an amazing thing.
Yeah,
it's an amazing time. So
one of the funny things is when you look at PowerAddicts and you go to the experimental features. I haven't seen an experimental feature that has not become GA as of yet. Like everything that they put in experimental, I kind of feel I'm not supposed to, but I feel safe to add them into the application because I'm like, oh, it's gonna get there anyway. So why not?
Yeah, I was waiting a lot for the experimental and the relationship for the CDS until actually they came up with that one, and I was actually really excited about that one. And I already have 2 projects that they need that relationship, instead of just bringing lookups and do all kinds of stuff, making sure that I can, incorporate all that relationship into the application. That was actually amazing when it came actually to, to the production version and went off from the experimental side.
I do love the updates, but then I look back at my other apps that I built in the beginning and I'm thinking, damn, I have to update them now. Or
yeah, you have to re-engineer with the new updates.
No, it's good though. It's all good though. I love it. Encourage you to keep learning as well. It's just like what 2 weeks ago will be probably old.
Mm-hmm.
It's like trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And that's why Twitter is so good though, because as soon as an update comes, it's there.
Someone's talking about it. As soon as it comes out, it's like someone's talking about it, and the thing just get these legs and it just walks all over the place. So
yeah.
Twitter is amazing.
Yeah, the next thing that I'm waiting, I don't know if it is already available because I'm, a little bit behind sometimes. It's that embedding Canvas apps as the first generation controls into the model-driven. I'm waiting for that one. So, I'm excited just to start working with that one because, again, some projects already have that, requests and requirements for that.
Yeah.
So looks like Keith has joined. Keith, you want to give a quick intro? Okay. There's the intro.
He said he's going to down the pint in 30 seconds live.
Yes.
As you do.
I've just been in the middle of a field in Nottingham with a bunch of users and building connectors live connected to a phone.
Wow.
And it was absolutely mental. 30 people turned up in the field. And that just goes to show you again, like how crazy this PowerAddicts and Flow thing is. And I have my beer, so we're all good.
I think that is the best intro. And then you got a pint in your hand. What can you say?
Yeah.
I got a whiskey as well because the bar's closed.
Oh, awesome!
That is really a true hangout.
That is a true hangout. That's how it should be.
Okay, I'll be back. I'm gonna get me a beer too.
Right.
Is there sound on my side yet?
There, I hear you.
There it is.
Finally. Sorry, I had a bit of a problem with my Chrome settings. It was disabled. So, yeah. You guys, can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I haven't used this Hangouts for quite a while. So, sorry, I'm just going to use it.
Not a problem.
I can understand everything and do everything in PowerAddicts, just not on simple.
Our next Power App is going to be to reproduce Hangouts.
Yeah. So we've. So I'm. Brian Edwards. Whatever. I spent 10 years working for Microsoft as a principal consultant. Got into PowerAddicts when it first came out, and I'm a SharePoint certified master. But when I got onto PowerAddicts, it was like, well, this is the next big thing. So yeah. Yeah.
Are we going to do? Would you guys like to go through the demo first, or should I start off with doing that, or are we waiting for other people, or?
That's all on you, man. It's yours.
Demo.
Let me just try the screen share and see if that works. Share. Let's do that. And I think we're looking for. Can you guys see my screen? Just out of interest now. Yeah. So maybe a little bit of a background on the story. What happened was that Microsoft every year they run an annual hackathon for 3 days, and there was a team of about 20 people that worked on this, and they were all big on going and doing it all in Azure and deploying Zarman apps and everything else to use or to build this something in 3 days. And suddenly they started realizing that it was impossible to build an app like this and share it on within the Apple iTunes store and on Google and all those things. So then suddenly I found myself as the backup person who was suddenly working on the Power App thing, and the only person who could pull it together in terms of getting it working across all different devices. So yeah, and this was done for a school in India who used sport and to use football, soccer specifically, to bring girls together and get them out of child marriage. So they have something like 250 girls in the program now, and what they wanted was an app to track attendance, because what happens in that part of India, in Jakarta land, is that something like 6 out of 10 girls are child brides. That's quite a shocking statistic. So they have they do a lot of sponsorship things to get these girls into the programs, but the incentive for them is it's in one of the most impoverished parts of India, and they are really, really good soccer players. So they go around now on to different tournaments. Part of the campaign that Microsoft ran included Marcelo, who plays for Real Madrid in Brazil. He's probably the best right football player in the world. And this was basically the app that I spent a great deal of time. I left Microsoft in September last year and decided to go on my own, but I carried on working on this for a good another 6 months or something, and this is sort of the result. So there's some really cool techniques and things in this app that patterns that I used, had to come up with, had to figure out a way of displaying photos, because if you can see the screen now, let me just hide this. Basically is that this is the landing page on the screen. You'll see it's got things like basic automatic. I use a timer control to change the image in the background. So there's 5 rotating images. And that's quite when you look at the app, it makes it, every time you go in there, you get a bit of a different experience. The same as going to a different website where you get, a control that tabs through images. And every time they go in, it sort of looks a little different, but always makes it fresh and neat. And it's one of the things that's quite cool about it. I don't know if obviously, I don't know, many of you probably have gone through all the videos, but just to give you an idea of some of the things that can do it, that it does, is that it really compresses these images down to a very, very small size. So these images, in fact, if you double click on a student, you'll see that these are just demo images, but they're really, they're high quality images. But if I go in and I inspect this, just to give you an idea of the kind of the network performance, and I'll just switch to, I can't remember what it was. I think it's HDR or I just remember if I scroll down the images, one media or something. I can't remember which one it was. Just give me 1 second. One of these.
Will it be IMG?
I don't think so, because it comes across, unless it's because it's hidden. Yeah, and essentially, if I open up the app, I'm just going to do a refresh on the screen just to reload the entire app. And what's really cool about it is that regardless of the size of the image that you upload, even if it's a 5 meg photo, the thumbnails you'll see that come up rendering here they'll come across as soon as the app loads, which takes a bit of time. Maybe just some other, whilst this is busy loading, you'll see when it loads up that it does an awful lot of refreshing and it takes a while to load. And the intent originally was to develop it to work offline. So they wanted it to cache images. So what it does is it loads your profile, and a lot of the back-end stuff has been done to make it work offline because it was such a remote part of India, but it turns out they've got better connectivity than I do. So that didn't, so that they didn't actually have any problem with it. So building the offline side of it inevitably never materialized fully. It was just designed in such a way that it refreshes all the data sets the first time you go in. And once those data sets are then loaded into a local, just doing a clear collect into a local store, everything then renders really quickly. So if I just clear the results here and I go into look at these records or these images that are displayed over here, you'll see they're all in the range of less than 5 KB or around about 5 KB. And if you tried any other technique to generate these images, as I go down, you'll see the size of them are consistently. And you can scroll through this. There's about 200 users or something. And if you look at the number down here, it's 420 kilobytes in total. And even if I go through every single image where there are images all the way down to the bottom, it's downloaded about 0.5 meg of data. So that's 200 users. Now, why this is also cool is that as you go into any one of these, it will then load that next image, and that one's 123 kilobytes because it's a lot higher quality. So, that in itself is a really cool technique I used using the render list item as data method which took an awful lot of figuring out how to do. And it's got all the information that displays here, and basically also once it's cached, it keeps it cached. So I'm just going to close that just to go back into the app functionality itself. So when you go in, you can go and create new users, and you can, what they do in the school is that they have a lot of the kids themselves are coaches. So they need to be able to use the app as well. So there's an option to go and assign them to a specific Office 365 user account. So I can go and type in Brian and find my name, all the Brian Edwards that are there with pictures if they're there. I don't know why there's a big space there, but that's, yeah. And for any of these, you can go along now, and it's got information about what standard they're in. Are they a teacher? Are they a super admin or an admin or a student? So an administrator, for example, can add new users and can add new classes and can add, or not classes, they have teams, so they have football teams, so they add the different teams. If you edit one of these users, then you can go and put in all that other information, and more specifically information, some of them a little bit irrelevant, like blood group or whatever, but you can select all the different teams there and things like that. And then this Office ID that's assigned here is just a number because the field had to be populated. So I just populated with that. The backend data source for this is Azure SQL, but to be honest, it wouldn't really make a difference if it was in SharePoint. The performance it's running on the lowest spec Azure SQL database. And if I go across, I've got an icon there. I can either switch back, or I can just click on that and it'll switch and show all the staff members. I can do a search, and if I type in part of my name, it comes up and it picks up 2 different accounts because I've logged. One of them is my own Office 365 tenant, and the other one is the one that belongs to the school. So you see that as I hover over it, it shows the different email addresses. Now, just to give you an idea, if I clear this, in terms of uploading, say for example, you wanted to change an image, I can go into one of these and I can say, okay, there's no image here, edit it, capture photo, and I can pick any one of these. Are some of the other examples that I've done. Click open. In fact, sorry, let me just check. I just want to check the size of these. If you just hover over it, that's 288 KB. It's not a large image, but nonetheless, it's 288 KB. when I click on the save button, it actually does, it fires off a timer, it kicks off a timer to do the upload. So I can actually carry on working and go back and, you know, do different other things, and you'll see the little ticker carries on whilst it's busy doing that, does a refresh, and I can't remember which one. I mean, was it this one? Some of, you just do another one quickly. More noticeable and remember the name. I think it was this one, so it should refresh. Sometimes, there it is. So you can see now it's actually uploaded it, and now that's rendering a however big that is, 2 point whatever kilobytes, and you can go in and see, you know, a pretty decent quality. And this is, you know, relevant if you think about people working, or if you think about people marking attendance. What you'll notice here is if you look at the students, many of them have the same name. So they'll have an Anita Kumari and another Anita Kumari that are different ages. So the picture does become relevant when they're, you know, when they're marking attendance or doing things like that. If I go into the actual attendance forms, so let me start with that. One of the things you'll also notice is, you know, again, the images are displaying, they're very small, but if you wanted to see that person or that picture, it's very quick to navigate and go across into that. And they have sessions which they actually didn't use. They were going to, because they sort of, you know, they had Friday morning practice, Monday morning practice, Sunday morning practice, but they only have one practice per day. So they only needed to really mark attendance per day. And then it's got all the attendance records, the ones they have captured. And what I've done is I've color coded it such that if anyone was absent on a particular day, it shows in a slightly different color. So I can click on this one, and you'll see how quickly it picks up all the students that were present and in that particular session. So I think, you know, this technique here, if each of these was saved as a separate record, would take quite a while to reflect and mark attendance. So as I go through these, if I pick different days, you know, it shows different things. And I use color coding quite a lot because sometimes what happens is that the kids are not in school, but they've gone on a tour or something. So basically, if I was to go along and say, okay, let me go back here and I want to mark attendance for today. And just to give you an idea of the school, what it does is it picks up firstly if you're not a student, so you might be a random coach that comes occasionally, it automatically marks those as not present, but you can then unselect those and you can say, for example, it highlights this person as the captain, it's got a star there, slightly different color. That person was absent. If I click over here, it says they're present, but they're on a field trip. So now I've clicked through however many records, marked them, and what's really fascinating is how quickly I managed to get this to save that record. So that record is saved that quickly. So if you see here, if you go through and you look Friday, 11th of January, and I go in, it's got all those fields saved and is exceptionally quick in terms of performance. I can see when last it was captured. I could scroll through all the different attendance records and see on any particular day where attendance has been marked. And this is really as fast as it is. I don't think you can get much faster than this. So the classes operate, so the teams are for the soccer practices and the football practices, and the classes are for marking attendance. Initially, this has got no students in it. It's also, the data's a bit stale, it's old data. But it's got subjects, what subjects were there, and one of the requirements initially is that they were going to mark attendance per subject, but then they said that's actually not what they needed. It's quite okay to mark attendance once to the first subject of the day. The person will go in, click on mark attendance, go and select all the people that were there, and that's about how long it takes to do it, which is pretty cool in terms of some people that just have phones that don't have great internet connections, but it is able to function that quickly. So that's the core of what the app does. But there's some other patterns that I haven't talked about or blogged about before that are used, and one of them is if you go onto any screen whether it's add a new user, or let's say, for example, you're a coach and you've got access to this, but you haven't got access to edit this information. And maybe this person who is unassigned to any team at the moment, you want them to assign to your team. I've got this generic share feedback. And when you click on it, it picks up the screen that you were coming from. So I pass that as a parameter to this form. You can then put in a requirement to say, please assign to, to whatever. If I can spell. May or whatever, it doesn't actually matter. And it picks up automatically what your email address is based on your Office 365 ID. You can say if it's a bug related, maybe you want to put down it was happening on the web. It would be nice if we could pick that information up automatically. What type of feedback are you sharing? So, for example, update user. Is it a bug? Is it a suggestion, or just a question how to do something? And I think any of you guys out there have built apps before. I'd be interested to know how you collect feedback or bugs. It's all manual. Are you guys still there? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're still here. We just want
we're here.